Hi everybody, it's Cindy. How are you on this Saturday? So I'm sitting in my car, getting ready to go into the store, and I thought, I just have to share. So I wanted to take a few minutes and talk to you about the greatest discovery. I'm 59, as we all know, and those of you that know me from high school, you know that I've always had and been challenged with my weight. So it's been an ongoing problem for me, and I've been telling my husband, I said, ever since we met, I said, I'm coming to marriage and I'm being as live and as raw with you, not just live on Facebook, but just as vulnerable as I can be with my friends, that I've always thought, I have a food addiction. How can I do so well in so many areas of my life? How can I have such a great job and a great career and do the things I do in that, yet not be able to overcome this problem that I know is going to impact my health the older I get? And so it's been an ongoing problem and an ongoing struggle. And so I have tried every single diet known to man, and I think there's probably some out there I haven't done. But one of the things that I did was I went to see an internal medicine doctor, and her name is Dr. Tamara Rogers, and she's here in San Antonio, Texas. And I highly recommend her if you need someone and you live here. But she actually put me on a diet that put me into ketosis, and she started explaining to me, I'm thinking, oh my God, I've done Atkins before many years, and what's this all about? But she helped me understand that we have two different types of fuel. So think of us as a car, and we have two different fuel systems. I can put gas in my car, or I can put diesel in my car. And when I put gas in my car, I have one type of response, and when I put diesel, I put another. But anyway, the two types of metabolism that we have actually are, we can run our body on carbohydrate metabolism, which breaks down into glucose, or we can put our body into a ketone type of, ketone bodies are basically nothing more than little units of energy. And when we use a glucose metabolism, i.e. our standard American diet is very carbohydrate based. And if you look at the food pyramid, it's very carbohydrate based. And then up towards the top, we have our fats and we have our protein, and then a tiny little top is our fats. That comes back from the 60s. So most of us have been living and believing this and teaching it as a nurse, teaching it that carbohydrates are the way to go. I mean, this is what we need low fat. And so to make a very long story short, when you do that and you eat carbohydrates, your body's going to break it down into components, and those components are glucose. And then of course, if there's protein and fat along with it, it'll break down to amino acids, and the fat pretty much stays fatty. But anyway, so that when that happens, then your blood sugar goes up, because it will. You eat, it's consumed, it goes out of your stomach and intestines into your bloodstream. It needs to get to the cells. And so the pancreas goes, oh, look, it twitters, we text message inside our body, the cells, and it goes, oh, look, there's a rise in blood sugar. I'm going to release insulin. And the insulin says to the cells, it helps the glucose get out of the bloodstream and go into the cells, where the cells are either going to use it as energy if needed. But here's the kicker. If it's not needed, it says, well, I might need you later. Our cells are like that. What's that thing on TV where people are hoarders and they save everything? Well, our body is going to save that glucose, and it's going to say there might be famine down the road, because remember, we're evolutionary creatures, and there might be famine down the road, so I need to store you, and you might be needed later, so I'm going to store you, and it's stored as fat. So we gain weight, and what happens is that whole cycle of eat, digest, insulin release, blood sugar go into the cells happens within an hour or two, and it's called a postprandial blood sugar drop after we eat. So what happens is, I wasn't food addicted, I was carb addicted. So I would eat, and it would be carb based, and then within an hour or two, I felt this compulsion to eat again, and it was my blood sugar dropping. My body was doing what it should do, and it was taking it and it was storing it, and then my blood sugar's down again. I'm like, oh my God, I need something to eat. So here's what I've done since then. When you use a ketogenic diet, and this is where you do a higher fat, medium protein, and quite low carbs. So you have decadent things like bacon and butter and eggs and steak with fat on it. And you look at the research on it. And this research is used in Navy SEAL divers who tend to, due to the type of when they're diving and they're underwater, they tend to not release bubbles, so that extra oxygen in their system can cause them to have unexpected seizures. But ketone bodies, the ketones, when we go into a ketosis, And what is ketosis? I'm so glad you guys asked me. Ketosis is where I remove a lot of my carbs. And so the body goes, I need energy. I need energy. Where's the energy? There's not much glucose here for me. And so it says, oh, wait. I stored some energy. Let me pull that out of the fat cells. And so it pulls fat out and it breaks it open. And what it releases is not the glucose, but it releases a product called a ketone body. And a ketone body is a little energy package. And so instead of running on glucose metabolism, I've started running on keto metabolism. I've done it for 2 months now. I have lost 18 pounds and I have never felt better. And I wanted you guys to know that I am standing here, well, I'm sitting here because I'm in my car, in front of you today, and I'm saying that I have found, I tell my husband, I'm a new person. I don't crave food. I don't desire it. I eat when I'm hungry and I enjoy it when I do eat it, but I'm not driven by carbohydrates and I'm not driven by my blood sugar going up and down and up and down. And I know I'm bouncing all over the place with this, but I wanted to sort of put a stick in the sand and say, Cindy's different. Cindy's found this huge aha moment. Food isn't my problem. The right food is a blessing. My personal journey, I can't deal with a lot of carbs. I just can't. Now, some of you may be different and you may not have that problem, but when you have ketone bodies as fuel, because the brain actually prefers, when you look at the research, and I'm talking NIH studies that have been done at prestigious universities over the years, when you look at when your body shifts into this like jet fuel, I won't even call it diesel fuel, shifts into jet fuel, you're focused, you're energetic, you have clarity of thought, I'm sleeping better. And I just can't imagine that I would ever go back to being carbohydrate driven. And I've had people say, because I travel a lot for my job, they say, isn't that hard? Isn't it hard to do that? You know what's hard? What's hard is not being happy with how I look. What's hard is feeling sluggish. What's hard is looking in my closet and saying, oh, I don't like the way anything looks. That's what's hard. This lifestyle, it's not hard. So I know I talked, and I know there's a lot more to come and for me to explain to you, because I feel passionate about helping people understand that there's two choices we can make as to what is fueling our body. One of them uses our own fat and breaks it down, and no, it's not dangerous, and I know there's a lot of stuff to learn about it. For those of you that haven't explored it, I'd encourage you to Google ketogenic diet. I would encourage you to reach out to me if you want some ideas. There's some great Facebook groups that have all sorts of fantastic recipes. My husband adores my cheesy garlic mashed cauliflower. It tastes very much like mashed potatoes. So there's ways to have a life that you can love and enjoy and be healthier. And I'm doing what I'm doing today so you guys can hold me accountable. Because those of you that have seen me go on diets and come off of diets, I stop talking about things when I'm not following them for my health. And I figured if I went public and I said, okay, I stand here today saying I've had a huge aha moment. And there's a lot we can do. There's a lot that we can do to make ourselves better. And I know it goes against everything you've heard. You're like, what? Unbelievable. When you start tracking the money, because there's this old saying in The President's Men, old movie, you may not remember, and it says, this guy who's deep throat in the Watergate scandal, he says, follow the money. When you follow the money as to why we've gotten away from animal-based and fat-based lifestyle like we did in the 60s, and when everyone said, oh, fat is bad and you got to have more carbs, when that happened in the early 60s, if that was the way that we needed to be healthy, we would not be facing soaring obesity. We would not be facing the soaring diabetic problem. A lot of our diabetes that people face these days is type 2, and I'll talk about that in a future thing. I talk a lot and lecture a lot about diabetes and insulin resistance and why that is. So we'll talk about that on another one, because I'm going to start doing a series of these. It'll be more organized. I love PowerPoint, so I'll probably have it where you can actually see some slides and look at the documentation. But I wanted to just sort of put a stick in the sand and say Cindy has found the biggest aha in all of my years, and that's that I function well when I have ketone bodies fueling me. So I hope you guys have a great day and have a good one, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye.